What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Monday, February 1st. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at the point guard position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Monte Morris from the Denver Nuggets playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 9th worst defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Monte Morris has averaged 21.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He scored 22, 14, and 16 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 25, 23, and 16 minutes. He's projected at 21.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's only $3,900 FanDuel salary, and he's $100 less on DraftKings. So I like Monte Morris here versus the Detroit Pistons. Another point guard that I like is Lamelo Ball from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Miami Heat, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Lamelo Ball has averaged 31.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 58, 35, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 29, and 21 minutes. He's projected at 32.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $6,300 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. So I think this is a player that's going to see his salary rise up throughout the year as he puts up 50 plus fantasy point performances. He's got a good matchup today, so I like Lamelo Ball here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Tyrese Halliburton from the Sacramento Kings playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Tyrese Halliburton has averaged 27 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He scored 27, 38, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 33, and 30 minutes. He's projected at 27.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $5,400 FanDuel salary and $200 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game. So I like Tyrese Halliburton here versus the New Orleans Saints. Okay, now I'm going to give you a value play on FanDuel only. I like Kevin Huerter from the Atlanta Hawks playing the LA Lakers, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Kevin Huerter has averaged 23.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He scored 19, 23, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 38, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 25 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.6 times value. He's $4,500 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,400 more on DraftKings. So I'm not playing Kevin Huerter on DraftKings, but I am playing Kevin Huerter on FanDuel. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's got big upside with a high floor. So I like Kevin Huerter here versus the LA Lakers.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like LeBron James from the LA Lakers playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. LeBron James has averaged 45.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 32% usage rate. He scored 38, 46, and 47 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 35, and 38 minutes. He's projected at 47.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.6 times value. He's 10,400 FanDuel salary and 200 less on DraftKings. So the reason that I'm interested in this pick, this is what caught my eye, is take a look at the last 5 games versus the Atlanta Hawks. He scored 66, 65, 75, 42, and 62 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Atlanta Hawks. So I think he's worth taking a shot on here tonight. So I like LeBron James here versus the Atlanta Hawks.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, another small forward that I like here tonight is Keldon Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. Keldon Johnson has averaged 29.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 20, 39, and 33 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 20, 32, and 31 minutes. He's projected at 29 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's 5,400 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 221 points scored in this game, so I like Keldon Johnson here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Oh, and real quick before we move on, this is another smash value play on FanDuel. Take a look at Will Barton from the Denver Nuggets playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 9th worst defense overall. And although they've been pretty good versus opposing small forwards, Will Barton has averaged 23.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 34, 12, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 30, and 21 minutes. He's projected at 22.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.7 times value. He's only 4,000 FanDuel salary, but he is 800 more on DraftKings. So I'm probably not playing him on DraftKings, but I think he makes a great value play on FanDuel. So I like Will Barton here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, who do we have at the power forward position? I like Darius Baisley from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Houston Rockets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing power forwards. Darius Baisley has averaged 23.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He scored 30, 19, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 30, and 28 minutes. He's projected at 24.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's $5,100 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game, so I like Darius Baisley here versus the Houston Rockets. Another power forward that I like is Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the third worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Christian Wood has averaged 43.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He scored 43 and 39 fantasy points in the last two games, playing 27 and 32 minutes. He's projected at 41.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. But this guy's capable of putting up 50 plus fantasy points to smash value and get you 5 times value or more. He's $8,900 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. So I like Christian Wood here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, moving on to the center position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Hassan Whiteside from the Sacramento Kings playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing centers, Hassan Whiteside, he's averaged 17.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 14 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. But his minutes have come up the past couple of games, so that's what I'm hoping for. And he scored 19, 33, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 19, 19, and 15 minutes. He's projected at 20.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.1 times value. He's $4,000 FanDuel salary and $400 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game. So this guy's got a low floor, but a pretty high ceiling. If he can play around 20 minutes, he should easily hit value here. He's a point per minute monster. So I like Hassan Whiteside here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. So the other center that I like here tonight is Deandre Ayton from the Phoenix Suns playing the Dallas Mavericks, who have a good defense overall, but they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Deandre Ayton has averaged 34.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 45, 32, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 23, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 36.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.4 times value. I think he's going to score at least 40 fantasy points in this one and get you 5 times value or more. He's $8,300 FanDuel salary, but he's $300 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. It's a good matchup here. So I like Deandre Ayton here versus the Dallas Mavericks.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.